Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it's your first time here. So today's video, I wanted to address the thorny issue of the resources that you might need if, like me, you're putting together your own area of literature self-study and you want to kind of do a DIY literature degree. And what thorny issue is in that? It's the thorny issue of all of the literary theory side of a degree. So all of the theory, the criticism, the analysis, the essay writing, that you would have lots of support and you would be taught on a literature degree in a university setting. Now, if you don't have a tutor, you're going to have to rely on books for that. So I have been buying some resources, which is what I want to share in this video. I want to bring you all of those resources. So I'm going to be showing you critical theory books I've got. I'm going to be showing you criticism books. I'm going to be showing you essay writing books, all sorts of things like that in this video. Because for me personally, my self-study in literature, I do want to touch on those aspects of like viewing books through different lenses of theory. I do want to have a go at essay writing and to develop my critical thinking skills around literature as well. And I know all of that would be covered on a degree in a university. So I have been collecting resources. I do hope if you are thinking of doing the same sort of self-study that this might be a useful video for you to see what sort of resources are out there. So without further ado, let's go into my doll room library and look at those resources. So currently my study area is here. It is in here part doll room because I collect dolls, and part library. So you can see up until this year it was all dolls in here. This was the doll room, but then I realised just how many bookcases I've got in here, and I decided to utilise it for the books as well. So it is this bookcase in front of me where I sit to film that I've got a lot of my literary theory and all like the extra books, the theorising books. I'll show you just what I've got so far. Okay, so the first book I got was this Penguin Reference Library book. This is a dictionary of literary terms and literary theory, and basically is exactly what it says on the tin. Reading some of my literary theory books, this book has been referred to a few times, so I have already used this book. All of these books I've picked up secondhand, every single one of them, because I've quickly discovered that, oh my gosh, some literary theory books are very, very expensive. Like, I've picked up some books that should have been £30–40 and I've got them for £2 and £3. I don't think I've spent more than £5 on any single one of these books. So yeah, it can be done, but I find that this is already in use, so that might be just something as a support for you, just to clarify terms. And then I also picked up this Mortimer J. Adler and Charles Van Doren, How to Read a Book. I've just started reading this month, and basically I think it gives you 4 different ways of reading a book, taking it right up to what you're trying to do on a literature degree, which is your making notes with referring to the canon and other books as well. So I thought that would be a really good place to start with my reading. So you've got a basic resource dictionary and like a good starting point, how to read a book. Now, moving on to literary theory. I've spoken about this book before on my channel. So this is Peter Barry's beginning theory. Now, I've seen this recommended on so many different students' videos who went to university. I think this was their fallback on book to explain literary theory, which so far I've realised why you need a book to explain it, because it is quite complex. And it scared me that this says beginning theory, because this is complex enough for me. I've also seen this book recommended on MA courses as well, so it isn't really basic. If MA courses are recommending it as well, then I think that's fantastic. And what it does, it goes through all the different types, well, not all the different types, but most of the types of literary theory, and just explains what they are. So liberal humanism, structuralism, post-structuralism and deconstruction, postmodernism, psychoanalytic criticism, feminist criticism, lesbian gay criticism, Marxist criticism, new historicism and cultural materialism, post-colonial criticism, stylistics, narratology, and eco-criticism. So that's what that book covers, and like I say, that is very highly recommended across BA honours and MAs. So that's one I think that's a really good one to pick up. I've also seen this crop up quite a few times in people's recommended lists. This is Terry Eagleton's Literary Theory and Introduction, and this is the second edition. So your table of contents in here, you've got introduction, what is literature, the rise of English, phenomenology, humanetics, reception theory, structuralism and semiotics, post-structuralism and psychoanalysis, and then you've got political criticism in the conclusion. So I've started reading that one as well. To be honest, I started reading this one to try and clarify what structuralism is, so it is bending my mind a little bit. So but it's nice to get some new knowledge, isn't it? Then this one as well I saw recommended on more than one channel. So this is Literary Theory and Anthology, edited by Julie Rivkin and Michael Rayon. Now this is a Blackwell publishing, and I found this for £3. Can you believe it? I pounced on it because this one does get more expensive if you go new for it. So I think this is a series of essays, if I'm not mistaken, around the different theories. So you've got formalisms, structuralism, linguistics, narratology, rhetoric. You've got reader response covered, post-structuralism, deconstruction, postmodernism, psychoanalysis and psychology, historicism, political criticism from Marxism to cultural materialism, feminism, gender studies, ethnic, literary and cultural studies, critical race theory, colonial, post-colonial, transitional studies and cultural studies. And for each one of those there are a series of important essays around them. So I think that is a fantastic addition to dip in and out in, depending on which theory you're studying. So that is another one to look out for. And then I think this is the last book I've got about literary theory. This is Literature, Criticism and Theory. This is by Andrew Bennett and Nicholas Royal. Again, it's another one that came recommended. You can see I bought this secondhand. These are not my notes. These are the notes of somebody else. So you've got things like creative writing, laughter, the tragic, history, me, eco, animals, ghosts, moving pictures, sexual differences, mutant, the colony, racial difference, God, ideology. So you've got a different way of presenting criticism and theory in this book. You've got sort of different headings for it, so that might give another way in. So those are the books that I bought for criticism and literary theory. Okay, another aspect of doing a DIY degree course for me, I thought, is the writing essays bit, that essay component, like how to put together an essay. Like, I've done English literature at A level, so I do know how to formulate an essay, but what is it like when you're studying English literature? So I got this, How to Write Essays and Dissertations, a guide for English literature students. This is by Nigel Fab and Alan Durant. And in here you've got headings like writing on a prescribed topic, devising your own topic, what markers want, the first draft, developing an argument, editing the beginning and ending. So just a basic walkthrough of essay writing. And then the art of writing English literature essays. This is at A level. I thought some of these I got A levels standard, just to recap, because it's been a long time since I've done A level. And a guide for students in English and the humanities writing essays again. These were very cheap, all secondhand. So I just tried to think of the areas of study, doing it myself, where I might have wanted to have gone to a tutor to ask for guidance, and I bought the books accordingly. And then I kept hearing the phrase critical thinking coming up, like you need to learn to do critical thinking with your arguments and with your book analysis. And I thought, well, what is critical thinking? So I bought this book, When Critical Thinking Met English Literature, a resource book for teachers and their students. This is by Belinda Hakes, and this covers topics such as critical thinking in poetry, the resolution of dilemmas, words and meaning, critical thinking and other texts, and then critical thinking skills as well for answering that question, like what is critical thinking, what's the point, how to identify arguments, is it an argument and non-argument, how well do they say it, clarity, consistency, structure, how well do you think, developing thinking skills, critical analytical writing, critical thinking when writing, critical reflection, where's the analysis, evaluating critical writing, does it all add up, identifying flaws in the argument. I thought this sounded like a fantastic book to start piecing together how to formulate those literature studies, to find the arguments and the questions that you want to ask of your text and present in essays. I'm sure this is the sort of thing that you would be covering in lectures if you were at university. So I got those two. So that one is Stella Cottrell, and that is second edition by Palgrave Macmillan Publishing. So I thought that one looked great. And this one, so critical thinking and essay writing, I covered those as well. Now, what else did I get? Now, some of these are a few that were recommended on Benjamin McAvoy's channel. He recommended and gave a reading list for what they covered in Oxford for these additional types of books. So this was one, How Novels Work by John Mullen. See, it's secondhand, it's an old library book. So that was one. So it covers like people, narrating, structure, voices, devices, style, endings. So all the aspects of a book and a novel that you would need to know about before you can even begin to start piecing together essays. So I got that one. This was another one that was recommended, Narrative by Paul Cobley. So in this one, you've got things like in the beginning, in the end, early narrative, the rise and rise of the novel, realist representation, beyond realism, modernism and the cinema, postmodernism, in the end, and the beginning. So how narrative is put together. So that sounds fabulous. This is another one that was recommended by Benjamin, Anatomy of Criticism by Northrop Frye. So you've got theory of symbols, theory of myths in there. You've got theory of genres. And I think this one as well. Yeah, this one was also recommended on Benjamin's channel. This is mimesis, I think that's how you pronounce it, the representation of reality in written literature. This is by Eric Allback as well. So I have no idea what this is about yet, but it was recommended by Benjamin. It was on their reading list for these topics. These are books now that I've taken on myself to buy. I didn't see them recommended anywhere on other students' channels who'd been to university. They're just things that I found in a charity shop. Like I found this for 30p, Margaret Atwood, Negotiating with the Dead, a writer on writing. So I got that one because I'm reading Dickens this year, and I'm doing a Victorian literature study. I found a book that said appreciations and criticisms of the works of Charles Dickens. So these go through different books and it's like essays on them, and I thought that would be really useful to give me an idea of what I'm trying to pull out of the text. I also found, just for a few pound on World of Books, this book, The Anatomy of Genres, How Story Forms Explain the Way the World Works. This is John Truby, so it goes through all the different genres, and I just thought that would make a really fascinating read. Whether they cover anything like that on a real English literature degree, I've no idea, but at the end of the day, this is your degree to do what you think is interesting. So for my Victorian study, I bought this Sphere History of Literature, the Victorians, which takes you through different authors and different aspects of the Victorian era in regards to literature. And if I can reach over here, I also got a companion to Victorian literature and culture. So this is like the history, the background of what's going on when that writing was being made. So growing up and childhood, medical issues, Victorian sexualities, passing on and death, what was old age like, what was the clerical life, what was financial life like, what was commercial life like, industrial. So it covers all the aspects that were going on historically in the Victorian time, and I thought that would be fascinating too. Another one I got Arnold Weinstein's A Scream Goes Through the House. I just thought this sounded fascinating. So you can see again, I picked this up secondhand and not too expensive. So this charts how intense feelings are heard and shared throughout different forms of literature. Weinstein reveals how the scream that resounds through the house of literature, history, the body and the family shows us who we really are and join us together in a vast and timeless community. So I'm pretty certain that this is about emotions and trauma and life and literature and what literature can teach us about that. Now for me, that is a fascinating way to come at literature studies, and I'm really excited about this one. And at the same time, I also picked up this Arnold Weinstein book, which is Morning, Noon and Night, and it's finding the meaning of life's stages through books. So that idea of maiden, mother, crone, it's the different ages of man represented in books and coming at books from that aspect. So this is a kind of different take, and when I discovered these books I was really interested. So I don't know what they're going to be like to read, and I don't know whether Arnold Weinstein might end up a favourite for me, but I really liked this approach to studying like the background of literature and what you can pull out of literature, which I suppose is what critical theory is. It's putting lenses onto your reading so that you can pull certain aspects out of it, and it makes the book fluid. They can become different books with different lenses, which I love, and these lenses that I was really excited to discover, so I'm really excited for those too. I also, let's have a look, what else have I got? I also found some Gothic books as well, so because I know that Gothic literature is going to be sort of an area of study for me, or special interest. I got the York Notes Companion. Oh, let's move that across so you can see this, the Cambridge Companion. So Cambridge Companions and York Companions are always good for a breakdown of Gothic literature. And then I recently discovered this book, Mid-Century Gothic, and it's about the uncanny objects of modernity in British literature and culture after the Second World War. So the Gothic held in objects after the war. This one sounded fantastic, really interesting again. So you can find sort of support with different genres as well, and you can buy the companion guides just to explain how different genres are put together. Another book that I've got waiting to read based around that idea of the Gothic as well is this one, The Mad Woman in the Attic, the woman writer and the 19th century literary imagination. So that one I'm really excited to read as well. I can see up here, this is one I found in a charity shop, Old English Literature, which gives you a breakdown of what Old English literature is. So I'm constantly keeping my eyes open for anything like this. Like I say, all of these books, most of them were between £2 and £4 each. So although I bought a lot, I'm so excited that I've got them, and I haven't broke the bank. So, and like, you really seriously could break the bank with collecting resources like this. You really could. Okay, I'm looking around me because the last thing I want to talk about is another way of a bit like with these books that give you like the background of the era that you might be studying. Another fun way of doing it could be to read biographies of the authors in that time period. So things like Jane Austen, A Life. To see the life described in the background, it gives you a real life feel of the times that these books were written in and what the authors were going through. I've got this huge, look at this, it's massive, book by Juliet Barker on the Brontes, which I found for £1 in a charity shop. This one as well, I think I paid 50p for that one. And then In Search of Mary Shelley, the girl that wrote Frankenstein. It's just another way to come at the background around the texts, and because our DIY degrees, they are DIY, and we're not really stuck in a syllabus as such, we could make it more fun by doing this type of thing, which I intend to make this as fun as possible while still keeping in the mix those challenging texts. Now, I said that was the last thing. However, I am looking here at some Shakespeare books. I found this one for 50p, Shakespeare and Modern Culture. What else? Imagining Shakespeare's Wife. I've got lots of books about Shakespeare's wife. I've got sort of retellings. I've got books about Shakespeare's like romances here. This was a book that I found secondhand. A Year in the Life of William Shakespeare, to give that background information. So I've got books like that to read in and around the subject, just to make it as fun as possible. So guys, those are the types of things that I've been collecting. So I've kind of been collecting like historical background information and sort of biographies. I've been finding things that interest me, like genres for specific books that I'm reading. I'm trying to find like collections of essays, just secondhand things, so anatomies of criticism, how novels work, books like that, and books on literary criticism. Those are the types of things that I've been buying, and it's been really fun. So I hope that helped give you an idea of what's out there, and what you could be using. If you go back to my video 1 in this playlist, you will also find links to videos of people who have actually been to university, and they give book lists as well on their channel, so do go and check all those links out as well. But this is kind of my collation from watching all of those links, if you will. So guys, have fun and happy reading. It's just so exciting to find a new subject to dive into, and happy studying, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.